This is Meghan Markle's sickest stunt yet.
I mean, other than looking like a toilet roll, Meghan Markle is contributing absolutely nothing.
The invoice that broke the illusion. The receipts were never supposed to surface. That's what a Paris hotel insider whispered when documents from Meghan Markle's Fashion Week stay suddenly hit the press.
This woman is really not oppressed. She's opportunistic.
Thousands of euros in penthouse charges, designer fittings, and private security, all paid for by someone whose name she refused to reveal.
Maybe Harry's no use to Meghan anymore. Maybe the divorce rumors are actually true.
At first, it looked like another celebrity expense story, an overblown headline for a glamorous trip. But the more reporters dug, the stranger it became.
Harry just can't give her anything else anymore. He's served his purpose. His purpose is over. So for her, it's time to move on.
Balenciaga, the brand Meghan allegedly represented, denied everything. Her team went silent, and the leaked invoices showed an entirely different pair. A man, a company, a trail leading far from Paris and deep into Hollywood's elite.
Meghan Markle is always attempting to, shall we say, build relationships with very rich men.
Insiders claim the truth left Meghan in tears, with Prince Harry blindsided and furious. But behind the drama is a bigger question, one that could redefine her image forever. If Meghan didn't pay for that luxury suite, who did? And why would someone risk their reputation just to keep her name shining at Paris Fashion Week? Because those bills, every line, every signature might reveal more than just a secret sponsor. They might expose how far the illusion really went and what it cost her to keep it alive. And when the truth came out, it didn't just end a trip, it ignited a storm no one saw coming.
Wow, let's make a new Netflix series and story out of Harry's demise. Ooh.
In Paris, early October 2025, cameras flashed across Avenue Montaigne as Meghan Markle stepped out of a black SUV, draped in custom couture and confidence. It was supposed to be her moment, a carefully orchestrated comeback during Fashion Week, symbolizing elegance, rebirth, and control. But behind the polished smile, a second story was already unfolding. That same week, a quiet transfer of documents was taking place inside the Plaza Athénée, the hotel where Meghan stayed. A staff accountant, under pressure from media speculation, shared scanned invoices with a French entertainment journalist. Within hours, whispers turned into proof. Those receipts carried more than numbers. They carried contradictions. One listed booking was made under a luxury brand name, another under a Los Angeles corporation no one could trace. The timing didn't match. The authorization codes didn't align. And when investigators reached out to Balenciaga, the response was instant. We did not sponsor her stay. By nightfall, French media outlets published the first blurred screenshots, sending tabloids and online sleuths into overdrive. Every line item, from the penthouse suite to the 3,200 stylist retainer, began to form a timeline Meghan's team couldn't explain.
During her Paris Fashion Week appearance, which was another desperate and craven attempt to grab the limelight, while William was getting some good publicity.
For the first time since leaving the royal family, the narrative wasn't hers to control. And as the headlines multiplied, so did the questions. Who paid, who approved, and who leaked the truth that turned Paris Fashion Week into a scandal? The answer wasn't in the photo shoots or red carpets. It was buried in the paperwork and the name hidden beneath the final invoice. But that was only the beginning. In the weeks leading up to Paris Fashion Week, Meghan Markle's return to the spotlight was choreographed down to the smallest detail. Her team framed the trip as a symbol of empowerment. The Duchess turned global tastemaker, reclaiming her image after months of silence. Every photo opportunity was calculated. A curated wardrobe, discreet security, a PR-approved guest list. Her arrival at the Plaza Athénée wasn't just a stay, it was a statement. Fashion editors described her as regal yet reborn. Publicists circulated phrases like modern grace and humanitarian glamour. For a few days, the illusion held. Even critics admitted the former royal had mastered the art of reinvention. Social media turned the moment into a spectacle of redemption. Influencers reposted her looks, tabloids ran with Meghan's triumphant return, and entertainment outlets praised her rumored partnership with Balenciaga as proof she'd been welcomed back by high fashion's inner circle. Behind the scenes, the machinery of image management worked overtime. Hotel staff signed non-disclosure forms. Photographers were instructed to shoot only from flattering angles. Any mention of costs or contracts was off limits. To the outside world, the Paris trip looked effortless, a fairy tale weekend framed in designer gold. But within the industry, quiet skepticism stirred. A handful of editors whispered that no brand had officially confirmed hosting her. Others noted inconsistencies in press briefings. One stylist recalled that her team spoke like ambassadors but signed like freelancers. Still, the spectacle went on, until a single document surfaced that shattered the entire narrative because one booking line on that hotel invoice didn't match the fantasy she'd built. And from that moment, the story began to unravel.
She is so odious, it's beyond belief.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous. These are two real imposters.
It began quietly. quietly, an email attachment sent from an anonymous source to a European journalist. The file contained scanned hotel invoices stamped with digital time codes detailing every charge from Meghan's stay. What looked routine at first turned unsettling on closer inspection. The listed guest information didn't match her publicized arrangements. The payment authorization referenced a third party, not her charity foundation or media office. Each page told a story that conflicted with the one her team had crafted. Charges for private transportation, designer fittings, and late-night room service bore initials that didn't belong to any known assistant. A single handwritten note, confirmed by sponsor, became the spark that ignited a media storm. Within hours, commentators began piecing together timelines, comparing travel dates and photo sessions. Bloggers and investigative pages dissected every line of those documents, circling inconsistencies like crime scene evidence. What had been an image of effortless glamour now appeared meticulously financed from the shadows. The silence from her camp was deafening. Statements that once flowed freely stopped overnight. Her publicist number was unavailable, and scheduled appearances were suddenly postponed without reason. The world began asking the one question no one close to her wanted answered: who actually footed the bill? And with that question came something far more dangerous: speculation. Each new headline stretched the narrative wider. Rumors of secret sponsors, unnamed investors, and whispered favors. The receipts, once mere paperwork, had become evidence in a story that refused to stay buried. And just when it seemed the mystery couldn't deepen further, another name emerged, one that would change everything.
People like Meghan will always stay with the man if there's no better option. I know that they have troubles in the marriage. I understand from now 6 separately reliable sources that Harry called in lawyers.
The documents revealed only a set of initials, brief, almost meaningless on their own. Yet behind them lay a connection that sent shockwaves through Meghan's inner circle. Journalists traced the trail through a maze of digital signatures, payment processors, and offshore contacts until one pattern stood out: the same electronic signature used in past media investments, tied to a wealthy figure from Los Angeles, someone who once moved in the same social orbit as Meghan before her royal chapter began. Insiders called him Mr. X. His involvement wasn't official nor public, but fragments of correspondence hinted that he had facilitated the payments personally, routing them through a company account to conceal the link. For observers, it raised questions not just of money, but motive. Why fund her stay? Was it generosity, loyalty, or an unspoken debt from years past? The revelation reached her team first. Within hours, messages circulated among advisors. Aides described a tense silence in the room when the first article naming Mr. X appeared online. Meghan, they claimed, was visibly shaken, pacing, tearful, desperate to find out who had exposed the connection. Behind palace walls, the news landed like a thunderclap. Those close to her husband said he felt blindsided, convinced the trip had been sanctioned and above board. But now, doubt replaced trust. Every shared decision, every media appearance suddenly carried suspicion. What had started as a glamorous weekend had turned into an emotional battlefield, one built on invoices, rumors, and secrets traded like currency. And as the truth surfaced, so did the cracks in a marriage once defined by unity. The moment the story broke, the world moved faster than the damage control could. Overnight, hashtags multiplied, headlines screamed betrayal, and opinion panels dissected every fragment of the leaked documents. What had begun as quiet curiosity turned into a digital wildfire, unstoppable, unpredictable, and fueled by speculation. Meghan's representatives initially dismissed the reports as mischaracterized, but their denial lacked conviction.
She will find a way to bounce past him to some other taker who might actually just love the guy. She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire.
Within hours, archived versions of press releases began to vanish. Interviews were pulled from syndication, and promotional photos disappeared from fashion coverage. Observers noticed how quickly the narrative was being scrubbed, as though the internet itself had turned into an eraser. Behind closed doors, the tension grew unbearable. Insiders described frantic phone calls, emergency meetings, and late-night consultations with image strategists. Every scenario was rehearsed: deny, clarify, or stay silent. But each option carried a cost. Silence made her appear guilty. Denial risked exposure. The truth was already outpacing control. In the public eye, the once celebrated couple now appeared fractured. Cameras captured forced smiles at charity events, polite distance replacing the warmth that once defined them. Anonymous sources claimed he had learned of the Mr. X revelation, not from her, but through the news, a betrayal that cut deeper than any tabloid headline. Meanwhile, within elite circles, doors began to close quietly. Invitations were lost, collaborations postponed, and partnerships reconsidered. No one wanted to be the next name attached to controversy. What had once been fascination was now fatigue, a reminder that reputation, once tarnished, rarely regains its original shine. For Meghan, the emotional toll was immediate. Reports described moments of breakdown, private tears, and an overwhelming fear that her carefully rebuilt image had collapsed overnight. Friends urged her to disappear for a while, to let it cool, but the world was already writing her next chapter without her input. The Paris dream had become a global spectacle, and its ripples were now reaching across oceans into her career, her marriage, and her identity. And yet, even amid the chaos, one question still lingered. Was this a single scandal or the symptom of something much deeper? Scandals come and go, but patterns leave fingerprints. As the days passed, analysts and commentators began to notice something larger beneath the surface of the Paris controversy. It wasn't just about hotel bills or hidden sponsors anymore. It was about the recurring rhythm of reinvention, a cycle where glamour masked conflict and every fresh start seemed to carry a shadow. Each phase of Meghan's public life had followed a familiar arc: a grand entrance, a wave of praise, then a sudden unraveling. The details changed, the city, the collaborators, the cause, but the outcome was eerily consistent. And now, with the Paris trip exposed, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Those who had once defended her image began to hesitate. Observers questioned how so many contradictions could emerge from one carefully managed narrative. Was it misfortune, media distortion, or something more deliberate, an artful control of perception designed to maintain sympathy while shifting blame?
You could see her walking openly in crowds, which is just hilarious considering that Harry comes here every month or so, demanding that the taxpayer pays for his security because he claims that him and the children and Meghan don't feel safe.
Critics called it strategy. Supporters called it survival. Some insiders suggested that every move, every appearance had been calculated to evoke both admiration and outrage, a paradox that kept her name alive in the cultural conversation. Others insisted she was simply unlucky, a woman repeatedly punished for trying to reclaim autonomy in a system that resented her defiance. But the facts spoke louder than feelings. Each controversy echoed the one before it, echoing through headlines and hashtags like a looping melody. The Paris leak wasn't a standalone mistake, it was part of a sequence, a pattern of control, exposure, retreat, and return. Even her silence had rhythm: disappear, reappear, reset. Every pause felt rehearsed, every comeback felt timed. And as analysts debated intent versus accident, one haunting idea emerged. Maybe this wasn't chaos at all. Maybe it was choreography. Because in the theater of modern fame, accidents rarely happen twice. And for Meghan, the question was no longer who paid for her trip, but how much truth she was still willing to pay for. By the time the storm began to fade, the damage was already permanent. What started as a luxury trip to Paris had become a mirror reflecting something much deeper. Not just about Meghan, but about the machinery of image itself. Every revelation, every denial, every emotional reaction peeled back another layer of how modern royalty and celebrity intertwine. The photographs that once radiated confidence now seemed fragile, almost haunted. Every smile carried the weight of what came after: the sleepless nights, the strained conversations, the silence between two people once united against the world. It wasn't just the loss of control that hurt, it was the realization that the story had escaped her hands. In a way, Paris became more than a scandal. It became a symbol, a reminder that in the empire of reputation, every choice has a receipt, and every illusion eventually asks to be paid in truth. Maybe the public will forget, maybe they won't, but the questions remain, floating like unfinished sentences. Who exposed the invoices? Why did someone fund her return only to destroy it? And if every narrative she builds eventually collapses, what's really holding the foundation together? Maybe the official story is true, maybe it isn't. But what we know for certain is that every photo, every headline, every whispered denial points to a larger pattern, one that blurs the line between reinvention and deception. So what else haven't we been told? If you want to see how far this pattern truly goes, watch our previous investigation about Meghan's mother admits shocking truth of Archie and Lilibet. There, the curtain lifts even higher, and the connections run deeper than anyone imagined. You're watching Star Spotlight, where the truth hides between the headlines.